Vlaganje v znanost krepi družbeno blaginjo. Študije dokazujejo, da vsak evro vložen v znanost na dolgi rok predstavlja večkratnik dodane vrednosti za gospodarstvo.
Znanost ima ključno vlogo za razvoj razsvetljene družbe. Zato prepoznavamo in nagrajujemo najboljše dosežke v znanosti. Zoisove nagrade, Zoisova priznanja, Puhove nagrade, Puhova priznanja in priznanja ambasadorja znanosti. Brez napora ni znanosti.
Odgovorna znanost svoje rezultate komunicira z javnostjo. Skupnostjo za skupnost. Znanost je temelj družbe znanja in ponuja odgovore na globalne družbene izzive.
Oblikovanje vseh politik naj temelji na znanju. Družbeno-politična vprašanja postajajo vedno bolj kompleksna, zato mora biti znanost temelj sprejemanja vseh političnih odločitev.
Pomembno se je zavedati in prepoznati pomen in učinke znanosti. Kako pa znanost vpliva na vaša življenja? Spoznajmo moč znanosti preko raznolikih dogodkov.
Brez znanosti ni prihodnosti.
Vsako jesen organiziramo različne dogodke za promocijo slovenske znanosti, ki smo jih poimenovali Mesec znanosti.
Pridruži se dogodkom Meseca znanosti tudi ti.
Hello everybody and welcome to UNI.MINDS Festival. This is the third edition of the festival, a festival that celebrates and fosters industry-academia partnerships. My name is Uršula Šem. I'm coming from University of Ljubljana, which is together with University of Primorska and University of Maribor, the main co-organizer of the event. What you just saw at the beginning of this session was a promotional video of Science Month. Science Month is an initiative of Slovenian Ministry of Education, Science and Sport, and for the first time, UNI.MINDS is also part of Science Month. This year, we have co-organizers such as Spirit Slovenia and Ljubljana University Incubator, and this is why the program will be even more interesting. The main partner of the event is, for the third year in a row, Novartis in Slovenia. The very special thing for this year is the collaboration with EIT hubs in Slovenia. And this collaboration will, of course, also be shown in the program. If I just quickly guide you through the program, what is there in for you in the next 3 days. So after this session today, you have the chance to tune in for funding opportunities for deep tech innovation. And at 1 o'clock, we'll have a traditional researchers' day, which is organized by Novartis in Slovenia and is part of UNI.MINDS because we believe it's a very good practice of how industry and academia can interact and exchange information on a yearly basis. And then we have special topics for these 2 weeks, the 9th and the 10th November, these 2 days, sorry. The topics will be health, food, climate, manufacturing, raw materials, and urban mobility. And in all those 3 topics, 6 topics, we'll have 3 different types of events. So there will be keynote speakers, very interesting speakers. Then we'll have fireside chats with our Slovenian frontrunners. And at the end of each of this topic, we'll also have best practices presented by the EIT hubs in Slovenia. The final event will be the UNI.MINDS closing ceremony. For the first time, this will be a live event for some of us who are part of the UNI.MINDS, for the speakers and so on, and for the rest of you, you are kindly invited to join because there will be a live streaming on Jubilo. So beside the program, there is also an opportunity to network. In the Jubilo, you can see who are the speakers, who is attending the sessions, and you can connect to them and you can chat with them. So do please use this opportunity for networking and for meeting new people. Now, without further ado, I'm inviting to the stage Professor Maja Klun. She is Vice Rector for Knowledge Transfer, Digitalization and Sustainable Development at the University of Ljubljana to give the opening statement. Professor Klun, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Urša. So, dear UNI.MINDS participants, hello to everyone. I would like to welcome you on behalf of University of Ljubljana. And what I would like to say, the need to connect science and business is often discussed. And also research shows that this have a positive effect. But in the practice, this is quite rare. So not all research, it's really not need a marketplace. And on the other hand, not all product developments need in-depth research. But if we want to achieve breakout results, both business and science need to collaborate. So examples of best practices show that networking events are still the best initiative for planned promotion of collaboration and sharing of knowledge and needs. This event is also intended to bring together the knowledge of science and business. I hope that this will be an initiative not only for collaboration, but also for co-creation. I wish you 3 successful days of networking, collaboration, and co-creation between researchers and business. In conclusion, I would like to say, do not end the collaboration after these 3 days. And this is my short introduction to 3 busy days. I hope you will enjoy them and collaborate in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Maja, for these inspiring words. Now I would like to ask to the stage another opening statement speaker, Dr. Uroš Urlep. He's Executive Director, Scientific Office, TRD Biologics and CGT at Novartis Global Drug Development. And since Novartis is part of UNI.MINDS since very beginning, I would really like to ask him and to give his statement on why this event and collaboration with academia is so important for a company like Novartis. Please.
Thanks a lot, Urša. Good morning to all participants. So I don't need to introduce myself, as Urša did it very kindly. Novartis is having more than 250 years of innovation experience. It was founded in 1859 in Basel as a dye factory. Maybe just a few things. 1961, there was a total synthesis of ergotamine, which was at that time very important milestone in providing the good medicine. In 1982, cyclosporin has been synthesized by Novartis, which enabled beginning of transplantation therapies. In 2002, coartem was added to the WHO list of essential medicines to treat malaria. And maybe recent milestones showing the innovation. In 2017, Kymriah was launched, the first cell therapy to treat hematological cancers. And in 2019, Zolgensma was launched for treating SMA. So a lot of scientific innovation milestones. Not to forget that LEC has 75 anniversary last year, which we also celebrated also by providing financial vouchers to 3 public universities in Slovenia. Why we do this? I mean, showing the great history of innovation. Novartis is not only discussing collaboration, but is living it. And why we do it? because we are fully aware we can only progress by collaborating with academia, by creating the common knowledge in scientific space, by opening ourselves, but also to attract talents from universities. And to support UNI.MINDS Festival is kind of a natural thing for us, because we are meeting with our academic partners, we are sharing what we do, we are learning from academia, and it's very important to have this kind of very proactive interactions. So we really appreciate this academia collaboration. If we just look in Slovenia, we have probably more than 90% of all employees that are coming from universities in Slovenia, and most of them are coming from University in Ljubljana. And if I do a step back in the history again, when we started, as I'm coming from biologics development, we started biosimilars development in Slovenia in the late 90s. So we were the pioneers, not only in Slovenia, but in the world. And this development started with collaboration with academia. So without this, we wouldn't be where we are today. Also the leading biosimilar company in the world. And all this is showing that we are really very closely connected. Maybe another very interesting example is some of you are probably coming from data science area, and Orange tool has been developed by Professor Blaž Zupan at Faculty for Informatics at University in Ljubljana. And this Orange tool has been used in entire global drug development in Novartis since few years. So great examples of collaboration and also great prospects also for the future. And to mention, in addition, when we started biologics development in Slovenia, we hired mostly biochemists, chemists, and pharmacists. If we would look today at the spectrum of people we are working with, we have still pharmacists, biochemists, chemists, but we have informatics, data scientists, electro engineers, as we go in the direction of automation, robotization, and digitalization. So all new areas are opening, and again, we don't have all the knowledge internally in Novartis, so we will also in the future really rely and strive for really good collaboration. So we'll stop here. I really wish you all very, very interesting meetings to really spark new ideas, and yeah, hopefully to also see some of participants coming to Novartis and to get very, very interesting work with us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Uroš, for these very inspiring words, and we are, of course, very happy to have you on board and to have you as part of the UNI.MINDS all these years. Now the event is officially opened, and we will continue with the keynote speaker of this opening session. Without further ado, I'm happy to present Arno Merman. Arno Merman is the founder and CEO of the University Industry Innovation Network. And in his role, he has built this network into a leader in research, events, training, and consulting on university-industry interaction and the role of higher education in society. Arno actively works with the European Commission, universities, and other government bodies towards professionalization of university-industry relationships. So he will actually give us a very professional, a very scientific insight into the industry-academia collaboration. So Arno, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Luza. And that puts a bit of pressure on me. I'll do my best. I'm very grateful for being able to speak to all of you here today at the UNI.MINDS conference. I'll be talking to you a little bit about spanning the boundaries, driving innovation and enhancing employability, spanning the boundaries between university and industry, spanning the boundaries of the university more generally, and maybe talk a little bit about the role of higher education in our society. Just a few words about UIN, where we come from, who we are. We have been in existence for just over 10 years. And we are a research and evidence-based organization that focuses on developing new training methods and frameworks, mechanisms, and tools for universities across the globe to become better enabled in terms of their external engagement activities, their partnership activities. We have over 120 different organizations that are part of our community. The minority in this case actually are some of the industry stakeholders, but the majority of them are, of course, universities again from across the globe. And you'll see the Novartis logo actually among those as well that we can count as part of the UN community. Maybe just starting off with what I would like to call false perceptions of universities. We often tend to look at universities from an education, research, and technology transfer perspective. Universities initially in the, well, actually it started with University of Bologna 1088, so close to 1,000 years ago. Universities were mainly seen as an education provider, a knowledge provider through educational methods, very often also very classical, of course, one-directional communication. It wasn't until the 1800s where we started to add research to those activities through, for example, the Humboldt University in Germany or the technical universities across Western Europe to educate more engineers, but also to do more research in terms of engineering, as well as the Oxford and Cambridge model in terms of adding research activities to the university and ensuring that the information that's being provided through education is coming from independent sources and is based on research conducted by the academics themselves. And then it wasn't until early 1900s where we started to talk a little bit more about technology transfer. There's early signs in literature about technology transfer and knowledge transfer activities. That then accelerated by the Bayh-Dole Act in the US, which meant that all of a sudden universities were the owners of the IP coming out of government-funded research. That accelerated this whole trend and movement for all universities across the globe to start technology transfer offices. It's very rare if you'd now find a university that doesn't have one, actually. That's probably more rare than finding a university that has one. And technology transfer offices fulfill a great function when it comes to, for example, patenting activities, licensing activities, but they can do so much more. And the word technology transfer often makes it sound as if it is a linear process. And it drives the focus maybe towards transferring technology more so than doing things in collaboration and in partnerships. Whereas to me, forgetting about education, research, and technology transfer, what universities actually are is they are institutions that provide education to people of all ages. They conduct research in isolation. Sometimes you also need to do that, but also in collaboration or sometimes in contract of becoming an extended workbench of research organizations or commercial organizations to ultimately, and this is the final objective, ensure employability, economic growth, but also mostly and foremostly enhance our knowledge society. We tend to sometimes talk about commercialization and basically turning research into a profit-driven activity, whereas that's not what we want to do, right? In the opening video, what we saw very clearly, it's about impact. And we, for the last couple of years, have started to use the word valorization a lot more than commercialization. We talk about creating value from research, social and economic value, more so than creating economic value and creating commercial value. It's not about the return on investment. Because what can happen if we do, then we tend to look at these numbers. So I just want to show you some statistics from the US. So in 1991, so this was after the start of the Bayh-Dole Act, in 1991, the total license revenue for US universities was 130 million. This grew to 2015 to 2.4 billion. Now, what universities tend to do is they tend to look at that and like, wow, that's a really big amount. Yeah, we need a technology transfer office because we need a share of that, and we need to drive our technology transfer activities, our licensing activities. But if we look a little bit closer, then you'll see that 15 universities in the US account for 70% of that license income. 15 universities, 70%. There's over 4,500 universities in the US. It's a slightly bigger higher education market than in Europe. In Europe, we have just over 3,500 universities, including University of Applied Sciences, universities of technology, anything that's a higher education institution, basically. So If we then zoom in on the number one in terms of that, then we have Stanford, which has over 5,000 patents issued, coming out of around about 10,000 inventions. 79 of those yielded more than 1 million, but only 3 yielded more than 100 million. So if we go back and we look at this number, then yes, 2.4 billion might look very appealing. Yes, it is a really large amount, a large sum of money, but it's not like every institution has access to it. Sometimes we need to look a little bit closer in terms of what our university's expertise is, and rather than following the trend and doing what other universities do, we need to focus on ensuring that we do what we are best at. And sometimes that means we need to find other ways of working together beyond, for example, licensing income. I just want to share a quick matrix with you, with a vertical on the vertical axis looking at transactional and relational aspects in terms of engagement, in terms of collaboration. And then on the horizontal, we have a categorical axis where we look at education, research, and student-driven activities. And we've mapped out a few different ways of engagement on this matrix. This is not a full matrix. Like there's other ways of engagement beyond this as well. However, we just mapped out a range of the different activities, because what I'd like to do is I'd like to stretch your thinking a little bit, and not just think about the ways of engagement in research, for example, R&D licensing and R&D consulting, but also think about the ways of engagement in education. And maybe stretch your thinking a little bit in terms of the more in the light green, the more classical ways of engagement, and in the darker green, maybe the more novel ones. And how what you can also see when we work from transactional to relational, we move from R&D licensing, which is a very transactional activity, to, for example, consulting, to spin-outs, to sponsorship, to what I would often see as an actual very close to a strategic engagement, industrial PhDs, co-funded PhDs, a PhD student working for the University of Ljubljana and at the same time also spending time at Novartis. Professorships, chairs sponsored by industry, collaborative research and development, and maybe a real interest in terms of, or a real significant sign of a strategic engagement or a strategic partnerships, of course, is resource sharing. So where you'd say, okay, we have a science park and we both invest into brick and mortar. It's going to be around for a couple of decades. So that's a real strategic investment that you could do. But then on the educational side, we have bespoke teaching, lifelong learning, professional education, hackathons, challenge-based projects, student startups, and moving into student innovation programs. And I think I'd like to maybe sometimes place a slightly more emphasis on the educational ones, because I'm about to show you some research results from a large study we've done on university business collaboration for the European Commission with over 17,000 respondents. And what we saw when we looked at the Slovenian data was that they're from the Slovenian university, so from the University of Ljubljana, for example, from universities within Slovenia, higher education institutions. The academics and also leadership are showing that they face a challenge, which is government funding for university business collaboration. There's a large dependency, or there's an expectation that the government will fund these types of activities. Whereas if you'd ask me, the best collaborations start with no funding at all. And you need to find a lean way of actually getting started with a collaboration type of activity. And education is often your first sign in, or your first way in, apologies. So as I said, I just wanted to share with you a little bit of research results. I always often find that presenting research results to academics is the best way to convince them that university business collaboration or external engagement is actually a good idea. And what I'd like to show you is the results for when we analyzed the motivators, facilitators, and barriers towards university business collaboration. And what we see here on this slide is we have 3 categories, 3 different types of respondents. On the left side, we have university managers. In the middle, we have the academics. And on the right side, we have industry. And then we look at the motivators. We see that the university management is mainly motivated by employability of graduates, research and ensuring research finds its way into society, similar to the academics, and also research insights. And the industry is interested in new discoveries and innovation. And then you might say, okay, industry is not the same, so that might be conflicting. But actually, I would say it's not any further from the truth, because what we're all interested in is research and innovation. We'd like to enhance our knowledge society and drive it forward. And what better way to do that through utilizing our facilitators and focusing on relationships. It's all about mutual trust, shared goals, and commitment. And the only thing we need to overcome is barriers in terms of resources and culture. And culture is easy to do because we need events like these here today. We need to understand each other and having conversations and bridging that divide. Knowing that someone from industry, when they say, I need something soon, they don't mean next year, they actually probably mean in a couple of weeks. We need to better understand each other's infrastructure and the way of working in the different types of organizations. And what better way to do that than, for example, co-funded PhD positions. I'd like to share up next, I'd like to share just a couple of quick case studies before concluding the presentation with a brief insight and a forecasting in terms of the future of universities. So I'd like to stretch your thinking a little bit by just providing a few case studies from across the globe. So these case studies were as well part of our research. I'll maybe drop a link in the chat later on in terms so that you can find the extended version of these case studies. But just briefly, we're looking at CUI-CAR, which is part of Clemson University in the US. And what they've done is they've built an educational program where at the start of your bachelor degree, up all the way up to your master's degree, you conclude that program by a finished product, which is a race car. So you built a car during your studies together with a group of students. And you do everything. So which means you need to do the financial modeling, you need to do the design, you need to do the engineering aspects. They actually literally built the car. And their final graduation project is taking the car out on the racetrack and organizing a race against other students. And they do this in contract of Honda, General Motors, or anyone else. This is real applied research combined with applied education. It is working for a client and building a finished product. I think that there's a better way of educating our students and ensuring that their skills that they leave the university with are immediately applied into practice. Unternehmertum, an entrepreneurship arm of the Technical University Munich in Germany. What they have done is they've built a physical space in place where they're bringing education, incubation, prototyping, venture capital, and acceleration and consulting all together in one institution. Bringing in large industry partners such as Bosch, BMW, Audi, Siemens, among other, Bayer as well. Bringing them in terms of providing consulting services to them, but also using them for venture capital. There's a lot of spin-ins coming out of industry, finding their way into Unternehmertum, bringing the students in through education, incubation, and prototyping, and also bringing the researchers in. It's really a physical space in place where entrepreneurship is happening. And then maybe just the last one, just to sum up, is from Zeiss Innovation Hub. This is that resource sharing activity that I alluded to before. So this is from the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology and Zeiss that we, of course, know from any optical type of instruments. Maybe 30, 40 years ago, we mainly knew them through our camera lenses, of course. These days, we have them all sitting in our phones. But what they've done is they've said, okay, the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology is such an important partner for us, and the research that they're doing is so crucial for our own activities. We need to get access to that. And what better way to get access to it than building our research facilities right on campus, right next to them? So maybe to Novartis, I've been to Ljubljana, visited Novartis. You might want to move a little bit closer to the university because what they have noticed is being so close together and providing educational spaces to the students, research space to the academics, that meant that they immediately got access to the best talent, and they immediately got access and being able to tap into an innovation ecosystem. And they also work with a lot of the startups coming out of the university. Because what is industry mainly looking for when it comes to collaborating with university, and what does university have to offer? It's about access to talent and skills updates. We talked about technology transfer, or let's say knowledge transfer. The biggest knowledge transfer that universities are doing, the biggest impact that they make, is with the tens of thousands of students that stream out of our education system on a yearly basis. Right? That's the real impact that universities make. That's the knowledge transfer sitting right there. Then access to technologies and resources, and access to innovative startups. As I said, I just wanted to, maybe as a final note, I just wanted to stretch your thinking a little bit and refer to the book of The Black Swan. It's about the impact of the highly improbable. We sometimes don't consider the improbable. We didn't do that with COVID. It took us years and years and years to provide online education or to do conferences in an online environment. And here we are, the improbable has happened. And we are doing this, and this is all of a sudden, it's become the new standard. What we've done is we've looked at this a little bit ourselves. Where does the university stand by 2040? Blank canvas for the contributors to our books. We've got a couple of books out there, global editions, times of crisis editions, so all of universities in times of crisis. And I'd just like to draw from the 5 roles of universities going forward that we have derived from this activity, from over 120 different contributions. We came to the conclusion that universities going forward, and these roles are not mutually exclusive, would move into becoming a talent engine. It's no longer about bachelor and master's degree or anything like this. It's about developing and validating student competencies, a life partner, adding or scaling the skills of professionals, and doing that continuously. It's the end of the alumni. We no longer have any alumni because the students always stay if they're 20, 25, 30, up until that they're 50. And when they retire somewhere at the age of 60, 65, they come back into the institution and they become the mentors of the future talent. Discovery, cutting edge visionary and collaborative research. Home base, it's an open co-working exchange space for the region. The university is the hub. It is the, let's say, the octopus sitting in the middle, the spider in the web, if you like, connecting all the different types of stakeholders and bringing them together in a physical, but also a digital space and place. And a launch pad, a driver for entrepreneurship and for entrepreneurial activities, for social innovation and social entrepreneurship, and impacting and ensuring that the region benefits through a social and economic way, providing that space and place for students, academics, and business. And maybe for the coming days and for today especially as well, the trouble is if you don't risk anything, you risk even more. It is time we start changing our institution for the better. I hope to have provided a positive contribution to your event today. I look forward to staying in touch. If you'd like to get more information, you can always reach me at my email address here on this slide. I believe the slides will also be provided to you at the end of today's session. Thank you very much. And yeah, if you have any questions, of course, also feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Arno. This was very insightful. I see also Uroš clapping. Maybe Uroš, a short comment on this, that we should bring Novartis closer to the faculties. Just unmute yourself, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot, Arno. This was really highly interesting, and I was able to identify a lot of elements that we are living already. But I need to say you sparked a lot of new ideas, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, we have certain kind of very close collaborations. We are working together. What we are looking for to really establish what you mentioned with Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, strategic partnerships that would go to all areas of science that are of interest, and these are very broad. So yeah, really big thanks. Would like to follow up maybe on certain things. So virtually, but maybe sometimes we could even meet to do things together in the future. Really very, very motivating. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Ljubljana is a very pleasant place to be. So I do not mind coming over and visiting you.
Great.
Okay, perfect. I agree with Uroš. So I think we started with many things already. Not so professional as you mentioned, but I think there are some good starting points for the Slovenia. Just one question before we wrap up. We are kind of over time, but this is very something that is interesting also for the audience, I think. You were doing a study a few years ago on Slovenian innovation ecosystem. You already mentioned some specifics, like, you know, we expect the government funding, and I guess this is also connected to your last slide, right? The risks. So would you comment anything else around the specifics, or maybe give some takeaway for the Slovenian ecosystem? So how can we actually maybe overcome this specific and be prepared to risk more? And I think, yeah, starting like having these lean ways to start a collaboration is really a path forward.
Yeah, of course. We've done both a quantitative study as part of this university business collaboration research, as well as more of a qualitative approach. I spent a couple of days in Ljubljana, interviewing a lot of industry leaders, but also startups and people from the universities. And I think just a couple of maybe short observations. One is, as I already said, is a high dependency or an expectation, not from the industry side, but from the academic side, that all these activities need to be funded by other sources, because it goes like, well, we don't have the money, so how are we going to make this happen? And I think sometimes it's easier to forget about the money and not talk about that. You'll find the money if you need it. It's easier just to first have those conversations. And maybe that brings me to my second point, which is sometimes the disconnect within the ecosystem. And this is not just a Slovenian or I've been referring mostly to Ljubljana. This is not just a Slovenian issue. This is an issue that you'd find in many ecosystems where we work. It might even be you work in the same building and you don't even know each other's name, or you don't even know what the other person is working on. And we need more of those water cooler, coffee machine types of conversations. And I think those happen through events like these. Those happen by bringing those people actually to the same physical space and place. It's one of the things I learned from my conversations at the time at Novartis was that they were really interested in the talent coming out of the university, but they also sometimes found that the talent coming out of the university wasn't directly aligned with their needs. And some of those things can be overcome if we just have more conversations and if we talk to each other, because the motivators are maybe different. They are not conflicting. So the academic doesn't want their research to just sit on a shelf and become unutilized. What they want is they want to create impact, right? They want to make a positive contribution to society. And if that is by collaborating with Novartis, or if that is by collaborating with maybe a social startup, or if that is collaborating with a nonprofit or with a municipality, it doesn't matter. But we need each other. And I think that's just maybe the key message I would say is we need each other, and it's sometimes better to just start lean and easy. And you can do that through educational activities mostly, because what is the trouble if I would invite Uros to come over and participate in a lecture, right? If I would be an academic, and he would spare an hour or 2 hours of his time to provide his input into a lecture, and that sometimes is the first stepping stone towards a more longer term collaboration on a more strategic level.
Okay, perfect. I think this is the perfect takeaway. Unfortunately, we need to wrap up. Of course, this would be a debate worth a day or 2 days. So thank you, Arno. Thank you to all the other participants. Thank you to all the attendees listening to this. I hope it was interesting. And now I'm inviting you to join our next session, which will start in 2 minutes. And it will be about funding opportunities for deep tech innovation. So thank you all, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of the festival. Goodbye.
Thank you.